What is up, YouTube? It's your boy Alex here from Team Generations, and today we are back again with another video. Today we're going to be looking at a tier list for V Premium. So I know V didn't get as much of a hit as we wanted on the Japanese ban list, and I'm going to go through this just assuming we did pretty much get the same list as Japan. So no real big changes here. I'm going to make a separate video on some of my wish lists for the, I guess, the English meta in general and what we want banned in our meta. But with that being said, you know, Springfest is here. I made a Springfest tier list video. I do want to make one for V as well. So let's hop right into it. No guests this time, just me and you. I feel pretty comfortable talking about V pretty much just as it is. So let's hop right in, and starting off, obviously we have Steam Maidens here. So it still is what it is right now. We have to still consider this the best deck in the format, so this is obviously going to be the top of tier 1. Just breaking down the tiers really quickly too. Tier 1 is, you know, complete meta. This can stand it up against absolutely any deck really. Has a very cohesive strategy, has things to kind of get around some of the limitations of other decks as well. Tier 1.5 are decks that can definitely challenge a little bit higher. They're not as oppressive in a way, but they have a strategy, they have something that they're very good at. If they pull off their game plan, maybe if they go first or whatever the case is, chances are that deck will win. Still very high tier, still very competitive, 1.5. Tier 2 is when you start to get into a little bit of that gray area, that rogue kind of, I guess, you know, like I said, just a gray area in general. These decks can perform, you can see them, but will you be surprised if they top? Yes, you will. So that's kind of at the tier 2 kind of category for me. Tier 3 is even more so of this. You'll be very surprised if it tops. It still functions. Maybe it's a more relevant deck or a recent deck that does have some modern gimmicks, but just doesn't really go all the way. Tier 4 is pretty much, you won't really see it. Maybe it's still playable, I guess. Bushy Help is, they're terrible, and Meme is, you know, they're funny for what it is. So it is what it is. Let's get going with our list over here. Up next over here for Angel Feather. This is definitely, I think, like a tier 4, tier 3 kind of deck. This is the one that relies off of the protect markers on your circles. I've been playing this. I think it's Curiel. I think that's the name of it. I've been playing this and I think it's like okay. I haven't given it like the complete playtesting it deserves, but being able to mess around with your opponents, almost at a bad word there, being able to just intercept for big numbers and really put a lot of pressure, multi-attack, I think is okay in general. It doesn't have an oppressive kind of strategy that some of the other top tier decks do. Otherwise, I think it would be a little bit higher up, but I think at tier 3, that's okay. Maybe even tier 2. I'm just gonna leave it there. Luard, I'm still gonna say is tier 1. Luard is one of the only decks that if they go first, they can actually challenge Team Maiden in the long run. Pretty much has an indomitable kind of game plan throughout. They just grow and grow, and if you're not able to stop them, take away their markers, you know, it's something, it's just really difficult to kind of stop them in the long run. So I still think they're tier 1. Yeah, I would say they're tier 1 right now too. Up next is Thavas over here, and a lot of people put this in 1.5. I don't think that's incorrect. Maybe it's the bottom of 1.5. I know we're just starting off our list, and I'll kind of go through it, and whatever order you see them placed kind of within this tier list is the order that I'm going to kind of basically say that, like, you know, the top is truly the top closest to the 1.5, and the bottom's going to be, you know, the furthest out. So next up over here, Gurgit. I actually have been playtesting Gurgit again in both Premium and in V, and in V, in both of them actually, they're pretty decent, but in V with the new promo card that we just got, basically it's even more just calling, and I know we lost Percival, so that is a big deal, but overall it still has a very, very high tiers, or just a high ceiling in my opinion. And I think it's still decent. Like, you can still see it, definitely. It's not a meme if you see it, definitely not. Don't take it lightly. Gurgit will still do Gurgit things in general, and defensively surprising, offensively just still a powerhouse in a lot of different ways. So watch out for that. I'm going to consider this tier 1.5. Maybe it's hanging around that Thavas kind of level in general, but I still consider this 1.5. Up here, over here too, I'm going to say Astral Poets is probably right there ahead of maybe both of these, maybe a little bit closer to Gurgit overall, but again, it's a high roll strategy that can still just win games out of nowhere. Like, you go into Valkyrian, you stand it, you restand it, do what you got to do all these drive checks. It's a very high roll deck, so in general, I think that it does deserve a spot in 1.5. Next up here, Chronofang. It did get a promo card. I think it's still a bad deck. You have a PG in hand, you pretty much win the game. You can't lose to it in a way. So I think that this is not a great deck right now, even with the promo card. I faced it actually many times. I actually faced it in Springfest too. Just wasn't living up to the hype, I guess. I know it was a super high roll deck back in the day, but you know, with Heal Guardians now makes it a little bit easier. Plus, you just have a PG in hand, like I said, and you just get around this guy's strategy in general. Next up here, Chaos Breaker. So I really actually think Chaos Breaker is decent. I'm gonna put it like right around that Thavas kind of rogue tier kind of thing. This is actually really decent in the Steam Maiden matchup. This is also decent against just a variety of decks that spam markers, which I feel like half the decks in V right now do. I actually think this is pretty powerful. You can get those vocals on board. This is a popular rogue tier, I think. I've seen a couple of these pop up, so definitely be wary of this in general. It hits extremely high numbers, uses Force 2, multi-attack over and over, so actually a really decent card, and yeah, good deck right now. I'm gonna assume that has Chaos Breaker in it. I think that strategy is a little bit tougher to deal with for your opponent, and that's, you know, under my assumption that has Chaos Breaker in it. It's in that 1.5 kind of area. This is a tough one too over here. I guess we're starting with the heavy hitters just right off the bat, but I'm going to put Night Rose in tier 1 as well. Still really good, still good against a multitude of decks, still swinging, you know, 70k columns are extremely hard with a multi-attack to kind of guard out and very easy to do in Night Rose in general. The game plan hasn't really changed. I just think that these other decks might be a little bit better overall in the long run, and I'm assuming, you know, most of the field will have a Steam Maiden on their team, so into the matchup, it's not the greatest ever, it's not the worst either, so because of that, I'm probably going to toss it in that 1.5, but still very competitive. And if Steam Maidens was to be banned out in another way, which maybe I'll talk about here, maybe I'll talk about in another video, I think that this definitely would be bumped up a little bit, maybe into that tier 1 kind of stratosphere. Fenrir over here, I actually think is a very good deck. I'm going to put this in tier 2 just because it doesn't have the offensive output that a lot of the other decks in the meta right here have, and a lot of these have the ability to kill on any given turn, whereas Fenrir's kind of, I like to think of it as a Swiss Army knife, you know, jack of all trades, can do a whole lot, can disrupt on your opponent's turn with the promo card, just consistent overall. I think that's like the idea of it, consistent. It's like a slow building kind of force, no pun intended with the force marker, but in general, it doesn't have the absolute kill potential on any given turn, like I said, as some of these other decks up here in the higher tiers are, but I still think it is very good. I wouldn't be surprised if you see it. I know 2 players on my local play it. It's actually very hard to kind of play around in general. Next up, here 2, Malkuth. I'm going to toss this in that tier 2 kind of stratosphere, just because we have seen it top a couple times with a good pilot. This is actually a crazy deck, generating protect markers, kind of getting around what Steam Maiden wants to do over and over. It's not like amazing, but it can counter it in general, so I think that, you know, if you go first, you have a shot in general. Like I said, right pilot, right kind of situation, this actually could make it, but again, it doesn't really kill on any given turn. Some of the Sentinel restricts are annoying, some of the other things are annoying too, but I think it is a tier 2 deck in general, which is, you know, not to be disrespected by any means. Next up, here 2, I'm going to say this is probably the bottom of tier 1 or the top of tier 1.5. I don't really like to say things are like absolutely tier 1, but I'm going to toss this in tier 1 Anj. With Murtoa now in this deck, it just makes it a whole lot better, a whole lot harder to kind of play around, and this is just, again, and one of those decks that are super consistent. I will say the only downside to this is when you bounce cards back to your hand, you know, you have a 9 card, 10 card hand. A lot of them are normal units, you know, you're really relying off obviously drive checks to get triggers, things like that. There's not like a ton of natural draw power in the deck. So in general, I think it has a bit of that false hand syndrome, but the offensive capabilities of this, especially, you know, the processors in there, get Murtoa off, get Tierra restanding over and over, generating multiple force markers, calling out a multi-attack from your deck. Going first with this is absolutely crazy. I don't think there's many decks that can stand up to it, but I still think going first with some of the other decks up here, the other tier 1 decks, probably are a little bit better in a way. But this has more tools, I think, to deal with certain situations, vacating your board, making sure that it's wiped at the end of turn, things of that nature. So I still think it's a tier 1 deck, but I think it is going to be, I guess, towards the bottom of tier 1. Next up here, Spectral Duke. I'm going to say Spectral Duke's kind of floating in between this 2 and 3 area. It got support with the reverse, and I'm assuming obviously this build has the reverse in there, but even with the reverse, it's still not absolutely great. I'm going to put it probably the bottom of like tier 2. It's still playable in a lot of ways. It was almost the best deck when it still had Percival, when Gurgit was banned out with it, but I think that we've kind of moved past that point at this point in the game, so I'm going to call it a tier 2 deck, but definitely to still be respected. Revenger is a very difficult deck to kind of put my finger on. This is a deck where, like, if it tops, nobody will be surprised. If it doesn't, nobody will be surprised. So this is, again, one of those high roll decks where you can just blow your opponent out, kill on any given turn. You know, your first grade 3 turn, you could have multiple drive checks. With Heal Guardians in the game, it makes it a little more difficult to really pull this off. Feels reminiscent of a little bit of like Overlord, but you are generating way more markers. So if you can make it to your second grade 3 turn, and if you can actually get its strategy off, I think it's actually pretty decent. So I'm going to put it right over here in tier 1.5. Next up here, something that I think is actually freaking crazy, like absolutely nuts. I am going to say this is going to be Jewel Knights. Jewel Knights in the right hands piloted is so good. Like, it is it's almost, I'm not going to say unbeatable or anything like that, but it is crazy good. It is really good into Steam Maiden still. It really does whatever it wants to do. You essentially have to play it like a rush deck. Maybe I'll do a profile, or rather just like some test hands and explanations on this, but I was taught by a very good player kind of how to, or the idea, the philosophy behind the deck. Once I picked that up and once I changed my mindset, like it all just like made sense. Rush your opponent down, get them to 2-3 kind of damage by your first grade 3 turn, especially if you go first. Like it's extremely hard on a force 2 for them to survive your turn because there are no sentinels. It's so easy to get that triple lock off and get the extra pluses. The whole deck just kind of feels like a big game of solitaire, but at the end of it, if you can pull its strategy off, it is so good. Next up here, Battle Sisters. I'm going to say Battle Sisters is actually a tier 1.5 deck. I don't care what anybody says. This in the right hands. I know somebody who plays this. I know somebody who's gone to World, played this and stuff like that. Like this is crazy. He didn't play this at Worlds, but he went to Worlds for another format. He's such a good player, and in general, he's really opened my eyes to this deck. This is crazy. Plussing, you know, deck rigging for triggers, making sure that maybe you can live through the next Steam Maiden turn. Just a general hand size. I mean, everything kind of flows in this deck. It's very tribal. It is actually so good. And there's a promo card here or there that, if played right, I think actually makes a huge impact in this. I don't want to spoil the sauce necessarily, and I don't play the deck as much as I should to really be speaking about it like that, but there is a promo card that essentially has 2 crit. Very good card, and coming out of nowhere with Sentinel Strict 2 and stuff, it just has a lot of tools, has a lot of the ability to kind of survive throughout the game, and I think this is actually a very good deck. This is kind of in that 1.5, but this is why I'm kind of annoyed at the V Premium meta right now, just because I know we started with the top heavy decks here, but in general, I feel like there is actually a good little space in tier 1.5 where if, you know, Steam Maidens was kind of lowered a little bit, things could break out. There would be a lot more diversity, not just diversity, but I don't know if I want to, I'm hesitant to say healthy and then get slaughtered in the comments, but a little bit more healthier of a game, because right now what's going on, just it can't last. Over here, this is Enigman Pure, and to be honest, I toss Enigman in another one of my decks, a budget deck that I plan on kind of coming up with, or putting to the channel a little bit later, maybe 2 weeks from now or something like that. But Enigman's actually pretty decent. I am going to toss this in tier 2. I don't think you should sleep on this deck. The root standing ability, just the overall like kill potential of this is pretty high. I think the Dimension Police has like insane tools as well. You can get like a triple Vanguard attack off. Just super good. So I really actually think this is a tier 2 deck. Next up, maybe I'm confused here. Is this the this is Curiel, and I think I confused the other. This is an Angel Feather target. I don't even know what this is, to be honest. This is Curiel, and I'm going to put her in tier 3. I don't remember what this is off the top of my head, so let me know down in the comments. I completely don't remember. Next up over here, Gradual Dragon. Gradual Dragon is good and bad. I think that it's good for a lot of different reasons, but I think that it is just not up to speed right now with a lot of the other meta, and I do have a profile of this on the channel right now. I still think it's decent, and it actually had a decent Steam Maiden matchup too. I've seen this really come down to the wire in so many games with it, but I'm going to toss it tier 3 right now. It could maybe hang out around that tier 2, but no higher than that, right at the bottom of it. So just to be safe, I'm going to keep it in tier 3, which is same kind of deal. I'm going to put that in the tier 3 kind of scenario. It's just tough with Steam Maidens, the multi-attack. You generate so many protect markers in a very force dominant meta where you're producing this many protect markers, and you're just generating really solid columns overall with your reride. I think it could be a little bit higher, but right now it's probably tier 3, somewhere like around here. Probably the best of tier 3 that we have so far. Spike Brothers, Rising Nova, I don't know. I personally, I don't know why. I always have a tough time playing against this, but I'm going to say this is like, right now, bottom of tier 3. Like right around here kind of deck. It's not amazing, not terrible, pretty easy to pilot, could kind of take games out of nowhere because of the Force 3, but overall not too great. Another thing too, I guess we're kind of filling this out. I guess this was almost already sorted in a way, because I feel like this is what this kind of comes out to, but this is going to be a tier 3 kind of deck for me, kind of hanging out around here. Sure, no, he just doesn't have it anymore. It's just not enough to kind of get into the rhythm with it, and stealing your opponent's cards and stuff like that just doesn't feel as impactful. Yeah, it has a decent hand size, but doesn't really have that like absolutely I'm going to blow you out of the water kind of playstyle that you need in this like upper tier echelon here. And I don't even think it hangs out with these tier 2 decks over here. So tier 3 it is. It's not as bad maybe as Chrono It's kind of around that area, I guess, but it is what it is. Himiko, I could be wrong here. I don't think Himiko is good. I think it's very piece reliant in a way. It has a lot of support, but at the same time too, I don't know exactly. I haven't played against it too much. I'm gonna toss it in tier 4, but I don't think you'd ever see this in competitive right now, but I could be wrong, could be eating my words. So Maelstrom, I'm also going to say is like a tier 2 deck. I think it's hanging out right here around like Enigman. They're pretty much interchangeable. A lot of these are like interchangeable at this point here, but Maelstrom, if they get their strategy off, you can only guard with 1 card from hand. You can't guard some of their big attacks if you hit a front trigger. It's pretty much GG, so I think this is actually really decent overall. Next up to Anger Blader. Currently in V, just it's not good enough. It used to be amazing. I'm gonna toss this. I mean, I guess you could still play it, but I'm gonna say it's a meme because it kind of is. You know, you dump your whole hand, you do what you do, so it's not exactly great. Vanquisher right now too is kind of like a tier 2 deck. I think it's probably hanging out right around here. I really love Vanquisher. I think it's like it probably is my favorite deck to play in V in general. It feels very control-y, combo oriented. Feels just oppressive when it's good, but the game is kind of slowed down a little bit to where you can't take the game away on your first turn anymore. You know, Heal Guardian's going to help with that. It is good, but in a way, I don't think it has the juice it used to. And I think that it definitely needs a card or two kind of to maybe propel it back into the meta a bit, but it's not a bad deck. You know, I definitely wouldn't sleep on it if I face it. I actually played this at Springfest last year. I went 5-1 personally with it, and it was pretty decent, but I think the meta has shifted with Steam Maidens now, and I don't think it's as good. Over here, assuming the Japanese ban list comes to us, I'm still going to say Melody is a tier 2 deck. Even when it was full power here in America, I don't think it was really all that great. It's a little bit slower. It takes time to kind of ramp up. Yeah, you got a lot of great effects and whatnot, but it's very grade 3 heavy, so you might have a big hand size, but at the same time, it won't be that great. You don't benefit off of a lot of the generic cards. A lot of it is just the Melody cards that you have to have, like, you know, the grade 2s, the grade 3s and whatnot, all the way through the lineup, so I still don't think it's that great. I think it's okay. I think this was just popular in Japan for whatever reason. I personally don't think it's as competitive as some people say, and Meep to 4 doesn't really bother me in a way, so let's do it. You know, I would still say it's around hanging around that tier 2 kind of area. Highlander in V, I'm probably gonna put this at the top of tier 2. Maybe it does go into tier 1. I just know these other tier 1 decks are a little bit more proven in my opinion. I think that Highlander actually is decent in V, very much so. Rewriting is awesome. Just, you know, the ability to kind of go into so many different strategies, so many good generic cards at this point in the game for Bermuda. So I think that at tier 2 that is correct. Probably right at the top of tier 2, like right around there. Next up to Ghosties. Ghosties is solid with the new promo card. I built the deck. I haven't playtested enough really to say it's better than certain things, but I'm going to toss it in tier 2 over here. It could actually go toe-to-toe with a lot of different things. I just think the power columns aren't as impactful as it was when it first came out because of the Heal Guardian. So overall, it has a decent hand size, has the ability to kill, like I said, almost out of nowhere, where some of the upper echelon decks do that as well, but it's more of like a multi-attack, and your opponent can definitely, if they hit one trigger, it makes it a lot harder for the turn in a way. So I think that this is kind of hanging out in that tier 2 area. Let me know, again, any of these, let me know your thoughts, what the deal is. Chronojet right now, you know, it's not as bad as some of these over here. It does need a little help to get a little further. I think with the tools that it does have, maybe it's at like the bottom of tier 2 right now. You can, I'm gonna say it's probably, yeah, it's probably like right around here. I think in general it is tough to, you know, when this fully goes off, it is what it is, but it's just not enough right now to kind of push further, and especially with the grade 4, you know, Heal Guardian kind of thing they have in what is it, Uluru, I forgot the name of it, but the one that Gear Chronicle kind of has right now. It can be tough and a little bit easier to kind of get around the Sentinel Restrict that Chronojet does have, so I'm going to keep it there. Pure Fortuna, I'm definitely going to say needs help. I like Fortuna. I think it's a really cool design card, and I think it's good in other strategies. They're trying to base a deck around it alone, which I assume this is doing because they have Yatagarasu later. I'm not going to say that's a good tech at all. I need to definitely have a few more support cards. Next up over here to also the performers. I forgot the name. Oh my god, I forgot the name of this. I played this for a bit too. I was really trying so hard with this one over here with Golden Beast Tamer, or the other one, the not Golden Beast Tamer. I forgot the name of it, but in the old VR basically. But this deck definitely needs help over here. Giraffa, I would say, is actually oddly enough like a tier 2, tier 3 kind of deck. I would probably place it right around here because ripping cards from your hand is pretty oppressive. I think that overall it gets a little bit stronger as the game goes on. Has really good generic support units, because screw with your opponent's board, and with a certain build, I think that's actually pretty decent. And with the ability to kind of go into the reverse now, just a little bit more options. I think it's a tier 3 deck in general. Yatagarasu too, I think we're kind of talking along the same lines here. I would say it's probably right around here. I have playtested this with the new promo card too, the one that we just got in English, where it's a grade 3 in Soul basically, or it draws cards with the counterblast. I think that you do still have the deck out issue, but if you're going first, you can kind of beat your opponent down, rush them down. You can toss Fortuna in there too. If you want to be a little bit more defensive, not give your opponent so many counterblasts, and then start your like next grade 3 turn with like 3 Force 2 markers essentially because of Fortuna's skill. So I actually think it's like okay with this new promo card. I just released a profile on this actually today at the time of recording, so go check that out. I think that a lot of people are not sleeping on this deck, but maybe don't know what it does, or maybe just don't appreciate it as much as maybe it deserves to be. Along those same lines, I feel like it's the same exact story here for a lot of these guys. I'm going to put Lawkeeper here too. Lawkeeper is actually really annoying to deal with for a lot of different clans in general. I think that once you start, it's bad against Steam Maidens, and that makes it annoying, but you know, a lot of these upper tier decks, they can't deal with it. Let's look how many Excel decks there are here. There's Davos, and then is there anybody else? There's Gurgit, probably get around a lot of it. I think that is pretty much it. So against a lot of these other tier 1.5, like as soon as Steam Maidens goes away, I feel like this gets actually a lot better. It's harder to manage resources in this deck because you have to burn a whole lot to do a lot of things, but I feel like once Steam Maidens maybe gets hit in English or something, right now, again, we're just going off the Japanese ban list, this could actually pop up into like the low tier 2 kind of area, very rogue area in general. Over here, Military Dragons, I'm actually going to toss this in tier 2. I think a lot of people sleep on this. This is a restanding Vanguard, 2 drive checks, so much multi-attack. He doesn't lose any of the drive checks when it restands. Just gives power across the board. Like it's actually like a really decent deck, and I don't think enough people either A, gave it the time of day, or really played it to its potential. I played this and I was a menace with this, to be honest, at locals, and like after a while, you know, I like variety. I move on from decks, but I really thought I did pretty well with this, and I think that other people can too. Like I think it's a slept on deck in general, but I'm gonna put it at the bottom of tier 2. Maybe it's high tier 3, but a little biased. I'm allowed to do that. Another deck over here, I'm gonna say this is Amon Shaharat. I'm probably gonna place this like over here. Yeah, I want to say it's like right here, probably right in the middle, in my opinion. This is actually still a really great card, and I know I sound like a broken record, but there's the grade 2 promo now, which vacates your front row, helps you filter, draw, get stuff into Soul. It's like actually not easy to hit Hope on Damp, but it's pretty, there's a pretty reliable strategy to hit Hope on Damp and still have countercharge. So there's no like counterplay in what is it, in terms of counter starving this deck. It's really nice threshold, hits nice numbers, multi-attacks, has a really nice ride-up turn, rips cards from your hand, does a whole lot for you. So Amon Shaharat, I think, is actually like right in that kind of, right in the middle of like 1.5. I still consider it a very good deck. And again, if Steam Maidens goes away, this deck definitely bumps up a little bit more. This was definitely one of the top 3-4 decks kind of the previous format, but right now I think we are in the 1.5 kind of area with this new promo card. This is going to be kind of like right over here. This is Ripples for V. Ripples V is decent. I feel like if you get the right cards, a little piece reliant, if you get the right cards, if the game progresses, you're not absolutely blown out of the water, no pun intended, right away, I feel like you can build into a very decent late game. Overall, doesn't have exactly what it needs to go a little bit further, in my opinion, but tier 3 is fair for this. Pure Shiryuki, I'm not even going to consider this a deck over here. Tsukiyomi, we're not talking about that. Nightmare Dolls, I'll say this. I'll say it's probably like a tier 4 deck. Definitely needs a little bit more help, but in a format where Excel becomes a little bit better and the thresholds are a little bit lower to hit, one defensive, again, almost shuts this deck off, which is the big issue. If you had something that maybe took that away or pushed it a little bit further, that would be better, but right now it's definitely like a tier 4 deck kind of hanging out around that area. I'm going to say the same with Hanzo right here too. I'm going to say that's better. Yeah, Hanzo could be annoying, but at the same time, it's just not that great overall. Overlord has the ability, again, to kind of kill out of nowhere. I think with the Rebirth, it's pretty decent. With the ends, you probably end up dumping too much of your hand right now, but I'm gonna say it's probably like high tier 3. It's not a tier 2 deck anymore, in my opinion. I think the Rebirth Dauntless is a better build than just the X at this point, so it is what it is there. Bushiroad definitely needs to help Susanoo a little bit. It could kill out of nowhere again, but very like OTT gimmick reliant on that. Harry needs some help as well. Probably could like, I feel bad putting things in 4 because 4 and Bushy Help almost feel like the same to me, but like 4 means they've had support. Bushy Help means they haven't really, so I'm still gonna stick Harry somewhere around here. It could kind of pull games out of nowhere, but it's not enough to talk about. And I think it's the same deal with Silverthorns, really, almost in the same bucket there. I'm gonna say 7 Cs over here. Pretty much, I think it is a low tier 2 deck. I think that it can absolutely blow people out of the water and just really, again, it's a weird strategy to play against. If you're not used to it, you know, it's going to start psyching you out a little bit. A good player obviously will know how to play around it, but a lot of people don't, and I feel like the end game that this has, the win condition, is pretty amazing. It has some really good support now with the latest set, so I think it is definitely a low tier 2 deck in a way. You can definitely tear up locals with it, maybe even like regionals, you know, get people off guard. Gaia they have had support, so I feel like I can't just like stick it in Bushy Help. But Gaia, I'm gonna say it's the bottom right now of tier 4. This again has had support. I was rocking a build, I was trying something with this. I think it's still tier 4, not too great. Big Belly, I'm gonna stick in 3. I actually don't think Big Belly is like terrible if your opponent doesn't have a Heal Guardian in hands. It could be really hard to come back from like a successful Big Belly turn. I'm just trying to think over a lot of these other things. It's weird. I think I would probably place it like here. Yeah, somewhere right there. Blouse too. I'm gonna say it's tier 3. I'm gonna say it's pretty much over here. Oh, this is Genesis. That's what that one is. This is one of the, oh my gosh, this is one of the Regalias. Regalia probably. I'm gonna say Regalia is actually pretty good. Yeah, I want to say that right there. I actually like my build for Regalia right now. It runs a little bit of everything, so you have a lot of different outs to a lot of situations, so I think it's actually pretty decent. Blau is better than Shiranui. I don't think it's better than Big Belly. I'm gonna keep it right there in tier 3. Again, this is all just my opinion. Overall, again, you need kind of like a new support card for Hamiel here. It was a poorly designed card with the not Hamiel, Gabriel. It was a poorly designed card because of Hamiel, but if with a little bit of help, it could be a lot better. Oh man, you guys are gonna hate this, but I'm gonna toss this in tier 2 with the promo cards, with a lot of the different variety that you can get out of this deck. I think this is actually a very decent deck. I think if you're going first against Steam Maidens, it is still super hard. Like, you're building 50k columns on Force 2. You're getting like your full-on skill kind of 3 crit columns like live immediately, to the point where like it's very hard to guard this out. So I feel like I've played this actually quite a bit, and I still think Alt Mile's a good deck. So I'm gonna put it in like the middle of like tier 2, maybe a little bit lower in general. I still think it's better than, it's almost like the same idea as Plan. Get like 2 grade 3 turns and you pretty much close the game in a way. Asha over here, I'm gonna put kind of in tier 3 somewhere. It has gotten some support. Just does not see play. It's not that great in general. It has gotten some recent promos actually. I've only really tested like a funny build in premium with it. I haven't really tested too much in V, but again, we just don't see it, and I don't think it's like amazing overall. MLB, I'm probably going to stick at the bottom of tier 2 just because of that new promo. Again, multi-attack allows you to get a little bit more. Triple driving with an 18k base can be defensive against a lot of different stuff. Very easy deck to pilot, so I wouldn't be surprised maybe seeing this. I did see one of this at Springfest last year at Newark, but I don't think it's just going to be a very popular deck, but at the same time too, I wouldn't be surprised. I still think it's probably the bottom of like tier 2. It has potential still, and it's still just like an inherently good card. I'm still gonna say the same thing about almost Sanctuary Guard Dragon over here. I'm probably gonna actually gonna put that kind of like right here. There's like a weird build with the trial deck, Alt Mile, and this, as well as some Jewel Knights that kind of, I've played a couple games. I'm not gonna say I really play tested it, but it's felt like really good. So I'm gonna put that at the top of grade 3. I think that restanding your Vanguard, additional crit, and all that good stuff is just pretty solid. Some solid columns overall, and doesn't really do much multi-attack outside of the Vanguard, but again, I think it's okay. which is still definitely need help. One of the coolest artworks in the game, one of the coolest art types, but just needs a little bit more. I know, again, we got a promo card for it, but it just did not do enough for the deck, so need a little bit more. Chaos Breaker, I feel like I already kind of talked about. Chaos Breaker by itself, I guess let's just talk about that as a deck. It's probably hanging out like top of tier 3. Yeah, I would say it's like probably like right here. Chaos Breaker is actually like decent. It's hard for a lot of decks to play around it, but again, if I was playing a deck that really wanted to do that, I would play this in Glendios. So we're gonna pause on like Chaos Breaker. We're not gonna categorize him by himself. I don't think that's a viable build right now. We'll just do that when we get to Glendios. So this over here, tier 3, I don't think it's as bad as some of these other ones over here. Probably gonna say it's right here. Musketeers, decent deck. If they're a good pilot, I feel like it could have a lot of potential. And again, don't sleep. A lot of these decks like right here, like they're still not bad decks. Like definitely don't sleep on these. If you're facing them, like still be very cognizant of your opponent's tactics, of their their general level. If someone's bringing this to an event, they must know the deck in and out. In my opinion, they must be a fan of it. So I feel like it's a pretty decent deck overall. So while it is tier 3, I'm not trying to disrespect anything like that. I'm gonna put Dudley still tier 4. It's the reverses I feel like is worse than just playing like a Rising Nova kind of with the original Dudley, in my opinion, but I personally don't like it too much. This over here is reverse Hamiel. It's gotten support, so I can't like say it's in this category, but I only run like 1 or 2 of them. I don't think it's that great. I think I've seen a game or 2 with it, but I don't think it's that great at all. I'm not even gonna consider this like a viable, I'm gonna put that in the meme category right there. This is the Link Joker, the one that you can go from like the original into that one. I guess like do this big chain lock stuff. So Lox is again kind of in the same gray area as Big Belly. I think Big Belly's a little bit better in general between the two, but I don't think they're that far off. I'll probably toss this. I'll probably toss this like right in between here. I think Silverthorn is still a little better. I think this is better than a lot of decks right here. Yeah. She's gotten support. I think it's a little underloved right now. I hesitate to maybe keep it in that tier 3, but I think in general has a more cohesive game plan. The hand size is the issue there, I think, yes. But I'm gonna keep for it right now. VSR in V is tough. It definitely is. I think it's still hanging out around that tier 3 kind of like, if I saw it, wouldn't be surprised kind of deal. It's better than Asha. It's not better than Big Belly. I still think these decks are more consistent as we've gone up. I feel like all of V and Arcami is missing like one thread, just like one little thing to kind of string it all together. There's too many options almost right now, so we're gonna leave it at that. I'm gonna say True Ancient Dragons, actually, the restander with the crit and all that stuff. This is a decent deck. I'm gonna say it's the top of like tier 3. This is very rogue. You can blitz people out of nowhere. I still think that the Military Raptors or Military Dragons or whatever are a little bit better. But True Ancient Dragon is it's a great deck too. I have a profile on the channel of so many of these decks actually. I haven't been mentioning, but it's nice if you want to get into premium also, because the build for both of these it's like a 4-card swap, and you add a G-Zone, then that's pretty much it, aside from some triggers. But go check it out on the channel. Yeah, definitely have that. Glendios, I'm gonna say also is kind of like a tier 2. I want to say it's like right here. I want to say it's probably like right there. Glendios can go into the Steam Maiden matchup and not be too bad at all. I think that it has a whole lot going for it in terms of just the support. Generically, Link Joker is kind of tough for people to play around. Just like with the lock mechanic, especially if you're in a force or kind of like a protect deck, your circles start getting locked, the game starts getting out of hand at a certain point. If you don't know how to play against it, which I feel like a lot of people don't, it actually is a very difficult deck to kind of play around. This is the rush one here, the maximum. In terms of like pure build, it's probably like right here. I want to say kind of. I still think Big Belly is better for rushing. This is harder to stop in the long term. I'm just trying to think. Yeah, I would say it's harder to stop in the long term, but the blowout capability of some of these decks and just the annoyingness kind of supersedes that. So I think, yeah, right down there, kind of that tier 3 area is what it is. This deck is a meme at this point. This is this is gonna be a spicy pick. So Hamske, I'm actually gonna say, where do I want to put it? I'm gonna put it like right here. Specduke in a lot of ways is still better. Glendios. This is actually a really tough one. I think that it kind of belongs right around here. In the right hands, this deck is actually crazy. You can like re-ride, multi-attack so much. The promo card helps fix a whole lot. I feel like people don't playtest this deck enough. And you know, I get it again. Why would they when Steam Maiden's is like so good? But at the same time too, this did get like 12th at Worlds or something like that. So check this out. This is definitely a solid deck right now. Vermilion did get support. It is a meme, but it's not a meme to be disrespected. I'm gonna put this at the top of the meme. Just because it is funny, but at the same time, I believe it's actually decent. I actually really like this card. I'm gonna put this at the top of tier 3. I don't know. People have been, I know yellow card. It's not Toku. I think it's the other one. I could be wrong, but I know people have been playing this and always talking about it. It has got its fair share of top, so I'm not gonna disrespect it. I don't think it's in the same area necessarily as some of these other guys, because you definitely need like 2 grade 3 turns. Whereas I feel like in the tier 2, some of these people still have like the blowout potential. 1, 2 can kind of, all mile can still kind of, a lot of these can still blow you out of the water immediately, whereas this like guaranteed needs a 2. But if you get it, it's like a very solid strategy. You know what, I'm just gonna put it at the bottom of tier 2 right now, because it has got its tops, it has its representation. I know it has its fans, so going to tier 2, it is what it is. Seal Dragons, indeed, such a cool art, such a cool like archetype. Definitely need some help, just not enough right now. Same idea with Tetra Boil Dragon. It's tough, you know. It's actually pretty decent overall. Like, I feel like the potential is there. It's just it doesn't have the right support cards again. It needs a little bit more. Without Percival, we're talking about a tough situation here. Even with the superior ride, I feel like, let's put it this way, Gold Paladin is like so generically good, where even without Percival, there's like a lot of things in the deck that could still propel it pretty far up. I think that it's probably in tier 3 somewhere now at this point. I think that you can still, you know, you can re-ride, you can do the first ride. I forgot the other one, the one that like rode Percival and broke Gurgit, but you can still do it in here and generate those multiple Excel markers. It's not terrible. It's really not. It's not amazing right now, so I'm gonna put it in that tier 3. Hyaki, oh, dude, I love this card. I love the artwork. I love this deck, but definitely need some help. Definitely need some help. I don't think these are any in particular order. I'm kind of sensing it's like an order, but maybe it's like something like that. Yeah, something like that, kind of. Master Beetle definitely needs a little help too right now. I'm gonna say witches are actually better than that for the high roll potential. Polaris, again, it's tough. Like Polaris locks, like they're kind of in that same area where if you get it off, if you can do it, like it's great. It can break through a lot of the Heal Guardian potential that you will see in the game. I think this is still tier 3. I think it's probably adequate right there. I wouldn't say it's better than a lot of these over here. Maybe we're gonna do that. Yeah, I would say something like this probably right now. I really love Nightmare Dolls too, but I would say this is kind of how tier 4 kind of looks like. I'm gonna put this at the bottom-ish of tier 3. I do have like a really cool Revengers Mordred build. I have it on the channel, and I was playing it in like games where it goes off. It feels fine, but I feel like it's just a little too vulnerable in a way, susceptible to removal. You know, you have to get to that second grade 3 turn and really like kick on, like have all the pieces right and correct, and if you don't see Mordred, it feels a little funny too. So I don't think it's like amazing. I'm definitely gonna keep it in the tier 3 kind of area. Not a joke, but Yasui, I'm gonna say it's a tier 2 deck. I'm gonna say it's right around here. I might be rating Chronojet a little bit higher, but it's a simple deck to play. It has a good generic support in Gear Chronicle. At the end of the day, I think Yasui is probably like right here, I would say. I consider this still a tier 2 deck. It does a whole lot. It's kind of the same idea as Fenrir, Jack of all trades, but you're going to start doing it without the you're going to start doing a lot of everything: removal, multi-attack, re-riding, getting multiple Excel markers. I just think that with the removal that Fenrir has on your opponent's turn makes it a lot more difficult to play around, so Yasui will be a little bit lower than that, but very similar idea in general. An OCL in B definitely needs a little bit of help. I'm gonna say it's like over here, I think. This is the new, I forgot what it was, but it works with Jamio Congo. This is for Nubatama. I'm gonna claim this as a meme. I've seen this deck and it's actually gotten a little bit scary sometimes in games with it. I think if you successfully do a Jamio Congo, but then you go into this, it's actually Fugan. I think Fugan's its name, something like that. I think it's not terrible. Meme is not bad. Like meme doesn't need. All right, I'm gonna put that. With that in mind, I'm gonna put these two over here then. And meme doesn't mean it's bad. It just does something funny, and it's not common. I'm gonna say I kind of want to say this one's a meme, but at the same time I don't. I actually think Asura Kaiser is pretty dang good if you pull it off correctly. I think it's probably right here. I would still take it over. Yeah, I'm gonna put Asura Kaiser kind of like right here, tier 3. I don't think it's bad if he pulls off what it wants to do. Like with Zazanda, the numbers get crazy. Like it's actually a really good deck overall, and it does have a multi-attack like re-ride, or a multi-ride at least. I forgot if it multi-attacks off the top of my head in terms of on the Vanguard circle. Over here, probably the top of... I'm probably going to put this on the top of tier 1.5. This is going to be Leopold Reverse. So good, you can't counter-starve it. It builds a board out of nowhere. It gets an insane amount of Excel markers. Has a base critical on the Vanguard. Also, just has... did I say nice numbers? I forget off the top of my head, but it is like such a crazy good deck in my opinion. I know it hasn't had the results that we typically think of something that high tier, but when you think of it, a lot of these decks really haven't at this point in our current format. Maybe previously, yeah, but I still think this deck is very good. Probably the top of tier 1.5 in my opinion. Blade Master needs a little more help. I love Blade Master too. Like Blade Master is my favorite Kagero unit. I'm gonna say it's like, yeah, kind of like right here, probably. Still better than that. Yeah, Blade Master is just, it needs a little help right now. We're not going to go into it. I'm still considering Amon Shaharat as one deck, so I put that up in tier 1.5, so let's just get rid of that one for now. Gridora, in V, it has gotten some support, but I don't know. This is a tough one. I feel like it's just not great right now at all. Very tough because you're binding stuff out in the best decks. You know, things get rid of themselves. They don't really care. They can kill through most of your hands. The Mordred return initially does feel nice, but I love the deck in premium. I play it all the time. That's like my main deck right now for this format, but not too great. Victor, I'm gonna put actually over here. If the right build with Zazanda and stuff, I've actually played this deck. I've put quite a bit of time into this a couple months ago, and I know it has potential. It has a lot of potential, and I think with like maybe one more card or something like that, anything to guarantee the Victor in hand would definitely make it a lot better if we had a top 7 search for this guy right here, but we don't currently, and I think it's probably hanging out around this area. Yeah, I would probably take... I don't know that I would take. I think I would actually put it like... yeah. Yeah, I want to say it's actually like right over here, probably smack dab in the middle of like tier 3. I think is an appropriate spot. I'm gonna say this one also is kind of like tier 3, teetering around that area. Again, the high roll on this, the stealth theme deck, is just absolutely insane. Like if you hit it like and you really pop it off, like it's crazy. Like I really think you can go far. Has so many drive checks. So there's like a lot of pressure put on your opponent. The guard numbers are weird. A lot of synergy within the deck. It's just not that great overall. So I think while it does have a high ceiling, it has a really low floor. Let's put it that way. So again, kind of in the middle of like tier 3 over there. Something that's a little disrespected, I feel like, is Razors. Razors has a crazy hand generation game. Multi-attack out the wazoo. Actually decent numbers overall, but I think it just is not doing enough right now. It doesn't have the results personally. I haven't played it in quite a bit of time, but I think it's probably hanging out in low tier 3 in my opinion. Over here, my god, this is bottom of Bushy Help. Like such a cool archetype, such a cool art, just lost pretty much. So lost. What do they call this? Blade, whatever the hell it was, I forgot. I'm not even gonna dignify by giving it the name right now. They gave it no thought, they gave it no real support, so they kind of threw it to the wayside. So will I. I still think that what was his name, Dungaree, is pretty decent. I'm going to say I would still rather play Dungaree. I think this is where it ends, where I would rather play a lot of these decks in the current format. Yeah, I think like right here in tier 3 kind of is the is the idea. You could argue it might be like the very bottom of tier 2, but Dungaree probably hangs out around that kind of area. Definitely needs a little more help. This is blue cobalt. Like, you have to dedicate so many resources just to get anything going in here. Oh man, this is uber slept on, the machining build. Oh man, I have to toss this somewhere. I'm gonna say it's like right here. All right. Thinking I'm gonna swap this here. I'm gonna swap this here, and I'm gonna put machining there. Okay. Ezel definitely needs help. It's had a lot of support, I know, and that's kind of like my criteria for here, but it still needs more. Just not doing enough. Oh my god, this needs help. I know this is again the second wave of support, but Kakaitis is just not doing anything again. Oh my god, this isn't a meme. This is actually an amazing meme right now. So decent. Like, go check my Negrobone profile out on the channel. You'll see like 30 card turbo, it's 120k, 2 crit, unguardable kind of numbers. Absolutely crazy. So this is definitely a meme, but this is a meme, but in the wrong direction too. This is really needs a lot of help. This thing definitely needs help. This is still, I think, a decent deck. It's probably, I want to say I would rather play Regalia over it, but then in reality I'm like, rather the high roll off of this. I still think, yeah, I'm gonna say it's like right there. Regalia probably feels a little better in a longer game. This feels better in a high roll situation. I think this is like a decent deck. Dayusha reverse can take games out of nowhere. This definitely needs help. I guess in this section I'm not really sorting it anymore. I've gotten all the SPs, I think, of this deck because it was so cheap, but just not good in general. Chrome Jailer is probably like the bottom of tier 4. I'm not gonna say it's better than Dudley. Chrome Jailer plays, it's essentially just a Spectral Duke with the Chrome Jailer option, and I also play Pelennor from hand. I have a deck of this build. I haven't brought it to the channel. Let me know, by the way, if you want to see any of these profiles that I've talked about. I have a deck, but I haven't brought it, whatever. But it's basically just a Spec 2 deck. I don't want to say it's its own deck really, because it's not. So I'm gonna keep it kind of here. I feel like it's better than a lot of these. Yeah. Ooh. This is gonna be Mystery Flare Dragon. Oh my god, you guys are gonna flip, but I'm gonna say it is actually the top of tier 3. Tier 3 just because it's really easy to hit the 20 now. You can still have the multiple turns. Again, going first, doing that, it is nuts. Again, not as consistent as one would hope, but I think this did see a result recently. I think it was just Springfest, so even still take it with a grain of salt, but I also have a friend who's really good at gears. He's been on the channel a couple times. He's done these tier list videos. He's kind of cracked a build for Mystery Flare, and I think it's a good deck. I've seen him play it. I actually think it's like pretty decent. So I'm gonna say it's like the top of tier 3, maybe the bottom of tier 2, maybe the bottom of tier 2. Yeah, I feel more comfortable with that. It's actually not to be slept on. Arboros, we're just gonna say needs a little more help. In the Claret Sword. Ooh, I can't wait to build this premium, but I'm gonna put it at the top of Bushy Help because it definitely needs a little more support. Even with the promo that it got, it just still doesn't feel complete in a way, and there's so many other decks that I'd rather play. This over here definitely needs help. Just the regular, if we're talking the reverse, actually no, I should back this up a little. So if we're talking the reverse, because I don't know what this unit is, if that's supposed to be the new Extreme Battle or whatever it is. If we're talking with the reverse, this is like a super high roll deck that could actually steal games off of absolutely anybody. I'm gonna put it here. I'm gonna do that because if you go first, you go to your second grade 3 turn, you pull off a successful reverse turn, like almost impossible to guard, like almost. Oh, this is Valios. This is probably actually the top of like tier 4, bottom of tier 3. Stopping your opponents from getting triggers and stuff, just whittling through their hand. The thing is, in the current format, like these big decks, like they have a lot of hand in general, so it's just like a 1 card to guard consistently for a lot of these. So Valios kind of hangs out bottom of tier 3, I want to say. By Hosen, I've played this in premium, which I really like. I just don't think it has enough in V really. Let's stick it like right probably here. ish. Yeah, let's do that. Again, this guy is so cool. I love the art, love the concept of pirate, like the real like wine kind of pirate thing. Just again, needs some more help with Pinot. Very interesting deck. I've done a video on this actually. I feel like with the right mindset, it could be okay, but it just does not have the gas to go right now. I'm trying to think, where would I, until I stop, would I rather play any of these? I need a fixed Gold Paladin here. Gold Paladin, I'd still rather play. Yeah, I'm gonna put that like there. Even like a budget Nebula build, I think I would still rather play. Yeah, I'm gonna swap that. Anything else? No, I would not rather play any of those. Ooh, this is actually pretty crazy. This deck is the most slept on deck right now in V. Like, no doubt whatsoever. This is actually a tier 2 deck in my opinion. I think it's like right here. Prism Duo. You don't play the grade 3 Prism anymore. You play her. You play the grade 4. This is the only grade 3 in the deck. You play the grade 1 because the grade 2 is obviously banned out. Then you play like a full support package, and you play Lieselot, and you play Aqua, and go to town. Like, this has deck thinning like crazy, restanding Vanguard, multiple marker generation. It's actually like a really good deck overall. I love this deck. I personally really like this deck. Jamio Congo needs help. I'm gonna put it. I'm gonna put that right. Yeah, I would rather play. Yeah, I would rather play Jamio over that. Please, I don't know why this is here twice. I'm gonna consider that the same build. I'm not gonna say that's that. Revon, I actually think is probably like a tier 3 deck, kind of hanging out. Kind of like here. I want to say, would I rather play? I would rather play Revon than a lot of these over here. I think Revon's actually kind of decent still. I think it's probably somewhere there in tier 3. Coral's almost like the same thing. Coral is almost like the same thing. Coral has blowout potential, has good generic units. I'm gonna say more so than Kyriel. So I think this is a little more consistent in a way. It's tough. This is kind of like a muddy area, but yeah, we're gonna do that. This is unplayable now, so we're gonna forget that. And then lastly, it's Venom Stinger. I actually really love Venom Stinger. I think it's such a cool art too. I don't know why, just like the Goonie looking kind of boss unit. A lot of deck synergy, but I'm gonna say it's still tier 4. Still needs help. I feel like a lot of the tier 4 decks, they need help, but this is like in a different kind of section altogether. But the rest of these, I'm not saying they're their own decks. We've already kind of covered. Tsukiyomi, gonna still say needs help. It's not, or the bottom of tier 4 maybe. Yeah, I'll put it there. Yeah, I'd rather play that over Hanzo. No, I'd rather play Hanzo over that. Yeah, you know what, I'd rather play Hanzo over this too. So let's take a step back, and yeah, I think that's about it. Let's take a step back and talk about it realistically. What's viable in the format is really 1 to 1.5. Tier 2 definitely could see a little bit of life. I wouldn't be surprised to see some of these. This one's more of a little like a personal kind of experience. I think Tachi's just underloved in general, but I would not be surprised to see these ones in Springfest. Yeah, not at all. Yeah, not at all. I don't think I would be surprised to see any of them. Ooh, tier 3 starts to get, again, kind of like a funnier area where definitely don't expect it. You don't have to be studying the matchup necessarily. Don't disrespect a lot of these decks because they can take games. You know, it's Vanguard. It can happen with absolutely anything. Tier 4 is super struggle mode and bushy help. You know, it's self-explanatory. These memes are memes, but at the same time, they could do some funny stuff and really start to accelerate a little bit quicker. So that is my video for today. Let me know your thoughts down in the description below. If you want to check out any of these or see any deck profiles, let me know as well. Thank you guys so much for sticking with me through this long video. Thank you so much for letting me ramble. And yeah, just keeping in tune. So if you want to purchase any of these, go to our TCG player link down in the description below. And if you enjoy the content, make sure you leave a like on the video, possibly consider subscribing to the channel. Thank you so much in advance. This is Alex from Team Generations signing out.